of our CSI Midlands game. In the last session, I'll switch this fan off to save on the noise. In the last session, our heroes, having narrowly escaped death at the hands of a couple of juvenile ogres, tracked the ogre tribe back to their lair and fell afoul of the fully grown adult ogres in the lair. When last we saw them, they were fading into unconsciousness, the icy hand of death reaching out towards them as darkness sought to claim them. Each of you slowly begins to struggle back to wakefulness. You are entirely naked, you have no clothes at all. Beneath you is the rough surface of a large jagged stone, and thick corded ropes bind you across your chests to this stone. Tal, you've got vague memories of, as the light was fading, of sort of like being grabbed by your legs and being dragged sort of like face to the ground across broken stony surfaces deeper into the cavernous lairs of the ogre. As you sort of try and shift slightly in your bindings to get a bit of a look around, you wince as the numerous cuts and bruises that you've all gained being dragged across this cavern floor sort of flare up into brief pain. As I say, you're all without clothes and you have none of your items on you, so if you have any items that give you stat modifiers, you will not currently have those. You are all on whatever half your maximum hit points are. As you all slowly struggle to wakefulness and you look around, you can see you are in a giant cavernous stone chamber. It is decrepit and the dust of ages hangs in the air, obviously not hewn by the clumsy hands of the ogres. This space, held up by stone pillars, most of which are now cracked and crumbling, must have once been magnificent in its heyday. Now it is bedecked with the gory trophies and plunder of the foul ogres. As you slightly open bruised and battered eyes and glance around, you can see a dull, sickly light, and as your eyes follow up a large hewn stone staircase, you see large candles, crudely formed but still casting light, burning near the top of the staircase. Grisly trophies of the ogre's kills bedeck what must have once been a architecturally glorious stone archway, and the huge skull of some beast hangs in the middle of the archway. You can hear the steady dripping as blood slowly drips from the mouth of this skull, and as you follow the crimson droplets down with your eyes, you see, amidst a pile of your possessions and other people's possessions, spoils of war for the ogres perhaps, you see the sword of Gale, now dull and lifeless, the blood slowly dripping with a metallic twanging sound onto the blade and running down it, slowly spreading and coating the pile of offerings that are in this crude, debased shrine. Standing in front of this altar is a large female ogre wearing little more than rags. However, her skin, her hair, her arms, her face, everything is covered in crudely daubed, bloody runes and tattoos. Your eyes continue to travel downwards as your ears slowly filter in the sound of her guttural chanting as she cavorts in front of this altar, shouting out strange words which mean little to you but hurt your ears to hear them. Standing at the bottom of the stairs is the large adult ogre that you faced previously in the caverns. You can see he's stood at the bottom of the stairs. He's still holding the large club. He's looking around. Occasionally he casts a glance in your direction, and as he does, you feign unconsciousness until his gaze slides over you. As the The female ogre continues to chant. A sense of palpable evil and oppression begins to gather on the edges of your awareness. It begins to become almost difficult to breathe, like a weight is pressing down on your chest. And you can feel this strange oppressive feeling growing stronger with every moment that passes. Then, as you all watch, you notice this first of all, Friar Dunstern. What appears to be a faint flickering of light in the blade of the Sword of Gale. At first you think it to just be the sickly reflected light of the ogre's candles, and then for all of you the light appears to grow, this golden hued light, until it fills all of your vision. In the brightness of the light, everything else seems to fade to darkness, and all you can see in front of you, or you look around, you see your companions stood next to you. You all appear clothed now, wearing your normal clothing. You see a pair of fiery golden wings floating in front of you, and as the light fades to bearable levels, you see a golden beatific figure standing there, holding a great sword that obviously you recognise in front of it. Behind the golden figure, you see a second figure, clad all in black, diseased dark robes cascading down to the floor, a curved sickle held in one hand that seems to ever drip blood. The figure appears to be moving slowly forwards. The golden angel holds its arms out, gesturing towards all of you, and then says, "Your deaths are coming," and it glances back with almost a sad look over its shoulder at the advancing, cowled figure. "And even for one such as myself, there is nothing I can do to prevent this. But I can buy you a small amount of time. But there is nothing I can do to prevent that now. Your fates have been sealed. The old gods are returning, but there is yet something you may do to delay them. But I can buy you only a small amount of time. But do not despair, because even as night descends upon you, in the end, know that after each evening there is always a new dawn. The light appears to grow brighter until it almost blinds you, and then as your eyes open, once more you find yourself back on the stone slab." Over to you.
Are things moving still?
Everything seems to be moving. The two O's do not appear to be aware of what has transpired. The golden light from the Sword of Gale has now died down, and it seems little more than a dull metal blade deprived of the divine glow that it once possessed. You can still feel this palpable sense of oppression gathering around you like a thick fog, growing thicker with every moment that passes. You find breathing quite difficult. Some of that is because of your wounds. Some of it is because of this strange feeling of darkness that is pouring towards you. You see the female ogre as she continues her chanting, becoming more ecstatic and violent in her movements, partway between a seizure and some sort of ritualistic dance. She draws out a large, crude, curved blade and begins to dance around, chanting as though praying to this large animal skull that hangs above the archway, holding the dagger in one hand. As you look at her, you can see what once you took to be a couple of piles of cloth lying at the foot of the pile of offerings are now the dead bodies of two people bearing wicked wounds, obviously caused by this curved knife. Their blood appears to be seeping into the pile of offerings. You glance around on the rock that you're all secured to, and you can see two spaces marked with blood where perhaps once these bodies lay. As of yet, the ogres do not appear to be aware that you are conscious. But all of you have the feeling you're on borrowed time.
I need to go and get my books from the shelf.
That's fine.
I'm going to break free. I want to break free.
God knows, Tom. God knows.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to try and break free, you can make a strength check. The difficulty for this location is 15.
So, John, are we talking manacles?
Just thick rope, sort of like across your chest.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I now remember, yeah.
Okay, Tal, you struggle to break free. However, unfortunately, due to the injuries you sustained previously, and bear in mind, like, this is rope that's thick by ogre standards, so it's almost like sort of ship's rigging that you're lashed down with. You struggle, but you're not able to like purely sort of muscle your way free.
Okay, I'll have to slowly wiggle myself out. Exhale a lot so my chest's really small and try and wiggle my way out.
Okay, make a dex roll.
Take my time.
Since you failed the previous one, I'll say this is an easy roll, so it's only difficulty 12. Okay, you struggle and you sort of like you breathe out and you start to sort of squirm out. However, as you're doing so, the ogre at the bottom of the stairs sort of turns around and looks in your direction, and you're like, and you have to lie still, feigning unconsciousness, which prevents you from escaping. The ogre's gaze moves across you. He grunts and nods as though he's satisfied that you're all still unconscious. He turns round and snaps something in his guttural tongue to his companion and points in the direction of the rock that you're all secured to. She brandishes the crude knife and says something back in the same tongue, and then turns back to the altar and resumes her prayers.
Have they made any... do we understand anything that they say at any point while we're here?
Make an intelligence roll.
Shit rolls.
Okay, you...
Yeah. We're dead.
The only thing you can glean from it, since you have experience in this particular arena, is you think they're perhaps attempting to summon something. And obviously the way they're doing it, looking at the bodies, is like a blood sacrifice.
Yeah, fuel.
Which is presumably the only reason they've kept you alive rather than just killing you.
I'm their colleague, turns out. Whoops.
Indeed.
We're both into the blood magic.
Indeed. And indeed, you actually... It's crude and it's primitive, but you actually recognise some of the sort of the poses and the gestures that the female ogre is doing, as though perhaps she's using some sort of crude, debased version of the magics that you yourself wield. But it is so alien and different to that you use. Although you're like, oh, it looks a bit like some of the stuff I do. You can't glean any deeper meaning from it.
And obviously, like, because we're about to be sacrificed, so I know it's blood magic. Like, there's blood magic in the air.
Odd gets pretty well versed in. He's pretty well schooled in all sorts of things. I'd like to think that he might be able to communicate with some of these, these marginalised folks like ogres and stuff.
Well, if you want to try and work out what they're doing, you can also make an intelligence check. For you, it will only be difficulty 12 because you're a goblin, and goblins are related to ogres.
Nice. So that would be...
But like a small ogre.
Yeah.
Like a small ogre.
Okay, so again, as you're sort of listening,
Did I roll shit? I can't even see my roll.
you got a 7. So again, you think they're trying to summon something, and you think that perhaps the culmination of this ceremony is going to involve them spilling your blood on this sacrificial stone, and that will summon whatever they're trying to summon. But although ogres and goblins are distantly related, it's very distant, and certainly like yourself, you're like a civilized, like urban goblin, so you're far removed from these. And there are civilized ogres, but you're far removed from like obviously these primitive sort of forest dwelling ogres. So
for sure.
Again, you've got a basic idea. You think once they've done whatever they're doing, they're probably going to stab you all with that big knife and use your blood to power whatever they're doing. But again, you don't have any details.
Dang it! This was not not in the textbooks.
Can we reach each other, or can I move my hands enough to touch someone else?
You can indeed. Obviously, bear in mind any spells you lost last session you will not have regained.
Okay. So who can I touch?
Right. Well, but for convenience sake, I'm going to say it's in the order of what I've got you on your screen. So on the far left side, you've got Tell. Next to him, you've got Jackdaw. Next to him, you've got Odgit. Then you're on the right-hand side for Dunstan. So you can only really reach out and touch Odgit.
Okay. So I would like to reach out and try and touch Odgit and try and heal him if I can.
Okay. Make your spell roll.
No.
Okay.
Sorry about that, old boy.
Oh, that was a bit of an anticlimax, really, wasn't it?
Almost as much as me typing in roll a D0 there. There we go. Luckily for you guys, the ogress doesn't appear to have like picked up on the fact you're using magic.
Okay.
So,
can we assist each other in any way to escape?
Yeah, I'd say if you... Obviously, you can only really assist the person next to you unless you can come up with an explanation of how you can assist other people. But I'd give you a bit of a Brucey bonus if you're assisting each other.
I think we could probably try and get Odgit out if we all like try to inflate our chest.
And then he could slide out.
Yeah, like do this and then like push back with our arms as well and try to get Odgit out, because Odgit is small and the thick rope doesn't adjust to that.
That's very true. Okay, so what I'm going to say, if you're doing that, Odgit, you can make a dex roll. It's an easy roll, so it'll be difficulty 12, and I'm also going to give you a +2 to it because everyone's like trying to assist you.
okay, I'll do that.
Oh.
Boom. Okay, so everyone else like breathes out and sort of tries to extend this rope as much as they can, and as they do so, your sort of lithe, spindly frame, Odgit, you're suddenly relieved of the pressure of the rope across your chest, and you can...
So that's spindly, man. That's wiry. I prefer wiry.
Thank you.
So I slide out.
Yep.
Um,
Maybe a dex roll to see how stealthy you are with that. Because obviously there is like an ogre like sort of like looking around. So if you're just like, eh!
is this the female or the old man?
It's the old man.
The old man's looking around and the female's looking.
Yeah, the female ogre is like lost in the ecstatic dance of summoning she's doing.
Oh yeah, right.
Whereas the male ogre is like, who doesn't appear to be involved in like magical shiz. He's like,
He's the guard, right?
yeah, pretty much. He's like,
Keeping a look out. Yeah.
Can I slip out in a direction that's advantageous to me avoiding his gaze? Like, can I, like, you know, if he's...
The obvious slight difficulty with that is if his gaze falls on the stone where once there were 4 people and now there's only 3, even the ogre's going to like be like, aye.
Yeah, but I'm one of them, like, you know, I'm a brother, innit?
We'll have, I tell you what, you can either make a dex roll to like stealth it out.
All right.
Obviously, bear in mind you haven't got any of your equipment, or If you want to suggest another way you could do it, I'd be open to other roles, but you'd have to suggest how you were going to do it.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I've got to say.
Because getting out, just like, that's not done.
Yeah.
You can get out in any way you want, and you can slide behind the rock so you won't be in direct view. It's more a case of the next time the ogre's gaze goes across that rock, and he's going to be like, "Oh, there's a person."
Yeah. So I feel like Odgit is it. Although you'd never guess it, he is a super. He is very clever. He is a very clever guy. In terms of ICRPG, without metagaming, which I clearly am, he is super shrewd. So I feel like he is assessing the situation. So what is he doing? He's looking for a pattern in the ogre's movement. So like if the ogre's been doing this for a bit of a while and he's falling into a pattern, he notes that he maybe goes 4 steps off to the right, then 2 steps to the left, and then he looks across to his missus to see how it's getting on, and then he maybe glances back to them. So Odgit's just there calculating it. He's like in his mind, like that Sherlock. You know, in the film Sherlock Holmes, where all the calculations for the ninjutsu thing is going on, and and he's seeing all the moves.
Yeah, I think that's a great plan. I'm not going to make you make a roll for that, because that sounds like a perfectly reasonable thing you'd be able to do. I'm going to say that you've worked out that when you slip out, you're effectively going to get like 2 rounds worth of actions before he sort of swings back round and looks at the stone. So you know he is going to spot you're missing, but you've like managed to work out like, all right, okay, I've got like 2 rounds worth of like actions before he swings back around. So you wait till he's like looking furthest away, and then he's like,
exactly.
So if you want to slip out, you can do that. You've made the roll for that, and you know you will have 2 rounds worth of actions before the ogre's like, what's going on here?
Yeah. So at that point, I want to bust out my companions because they are way more competent than I am.
Okay, how do you plan on busting them out?
So they've got these like hawser type ropes holding them down.
Could do the same again. There's more slack now. Someone else could slip out. So I need to get to the point. I feel like I need to get to the point where these ropes are tied, and I mean, maybe I could just like use my acid or something to just like burn through the ropes.
You certainly could. I mean, if you get a decent enough like roll, your acid will eat through these ropes. I mean, they're quite thick, so you'd have to do like a few points of like damage to like break a bit of it, because it's like thick old rope.
So I feel like I've got time to try the magic, and if the magic failed, I could fall back on something more traditional. So as I'm heading around, Odgit is looking for some sort of sharp implement that he's looking for his wizard's blade. So if our stuff is nearby,
no, you look around and you think all of your stuff is piled up at the top of the stairs where the female ogre is. However, as you look around, you can see there's numerous like shards of broken masonry and stone that are pretty sharp. Yeah, I mean, they're not ideal. I mean, they're not a blade, but
yeah. So I feel like my first attempt will be to conjure some acid to burn through the bonds, and if that fails, I'll pick up a sharp shard for my second go and just like cut them free. So
okay, so make your intelligence roll to cast your spell.
Yeah, there we go. Did that work?
I'm not. Oh no, it's 14. I'm afraid. Okay, so you're unable to conjure the mystical force to cast your acid. Now, obviously, that's pretty much taken like your first round. You know, you've got one more left. If you were to cast again because you failed, it would be an easier roll, so it would only be like a 12. But obviously, this round is like your last action before like the ogre realizes you've slipped loose your bonds and escaped. What do you want to do, Odger?
Oh boy.
On that same round, can someone else try and get out?
You can try and get out. It will be a dex roll because the only reason Odgit was able to get out so easily is because he's so small, whereas you guys aren't. I mean, if any of you want to try and get out, you certainly can do on this round.
Yeah.
So, John, since there's at least maybe a little bit of room now to move, at least like sideways and whatnot.
Yeah.
Where's our hands? Like actually,
Your hands are sort of down by your side. You're sort of put on like that, and then the ropes across you.
yeah. Can I get them under the ropes?
Yeah.
Like to my chest.
Yeah, you sort of because obviously you're breathed out to like expand it a bit. If you breathe in, you're quite thin anyway. You can like.
Yeah. So I'll like exhale, like collapse the old chest, and bring the hands up a little bit. John, would it help at all if I broke some of my ribs in preparation of like slipping out?
Yeah, it definitely would.
Because it's like if I have enough movement range, I would just bring up the hands, just like, and then try and like slide out.
Okay, so roll me a d6 to see like how much damage that does to you. I'm obviously not going to make a roll to see if you can do that.
Good, I'm out. So I bring up the hands and then.
Yeah. So you guys hear Jackdaw going like, if I just break a few of these, maybe I can.
Okay. Well, conveniently, now that Odgit is gone, Jackdaw is within my reach.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So I will try and heal him if I can.
Go for it. Obviously, because you failed previously, this is an easy roll, so it's only difficulty 12. Boom. Roll for that healing.
Great.
5 hit points of.
I'm back. With broken ribs. I know. I guess they're healed now. So.
Yeah. Your ribs are now not broken.
Okay.
So you're like, oh, broke my ribs. Oh, I thought I passed out. Oh, at least.
The fuck? My ribs.
How dare you unbreak my ribs?
So that doesn't work apparently.
Okay, so in the first round, obviously, Odgit tried to do his acid splash, failed. The friars healed Jackdaw, who like tried to break his own ribs. Tal tried to struggle free, but because he's like the most buff of you all, he didn't manage it. He was just literally like, but because he's literally like the biggest, most muscular of you, the ropes are tighter across him.
Even tighter now.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got.
Break my ribs, Jack.
So we're starting with Odgate. This is like your last round before the ogres realise you're missing. You're muted, Odgate.
Good. I am not muted anymore, and I will try again to dissolve these bonds of my companions. Oh, for fuck's sake! To coin a phrase.
Seems like we're not doing so well.
So I like to think, Odgate, you've turned around and you start doing the complex sort of hand gestures to summon this asset, and you're like, you've looked at the rope and you're like, oh, I'll just cast this on the rope near where like Jack. Hold on a minute, what's Jackdaw doing? And that sort of throws you off your game a little bit.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay, so the rest of you guys who are still roped up, you can see the ogres sort of like gaze like swinging, almost in like slow motion, like swinging back in your direction. You've got this one round to act before they're going to realise something's up. What do you do?
Break 3. Yeah,
I think I'm going to soundburst the lady ogre. And if I can get her and him, I'll do them both.
Yeah, go for it. Make your roll. Difficulty 15.
Oh. Gale has deserted me.
Indeed, and I think it's most likely as a result of this like dark presence and this ominous prophecy of your sort of impending demise that you've received from Gale, the fact you're on borrowed time, perhaps makes it difficult for you to conjure the spell, or perhaps it's some of the arcane summonings, the dark magics that the ogre female is doing. Who knows?
Or the dodgy company I've been keeping.
I think.
Well,
I think.
I didn't like to say, to be honest with you.
I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that John said this is the last episode.
Hey, don't blame me for the dice, guys. It wasn't me who said let's go and raid that ogre lair.
No.
Who was that, by the way?
Okay, so Tal,
Nothing to do with me, man.
did you say you were going to try and break out again, Tal?
Yeah, I'm going strength. Back to
Okay,
strength. That's
so
what
it's an
I know.
easy roll for you. It's 12 because you failed previously.
No one loves
Oh,
strength.
Oh, boom. So
There you go.
I think you sort of like you flex out a bit and finding because you've been straining and straining against these ropes. One of the sort of knotted strands like snaps, and the rest of you all feel like the ropes go slack.
Oh.
Okay, Jack.
And I see my shit.
Yeah, it's all in the big pile behind the ogress.
I'm diving in there to get my blood magic book.
Okay, let me just move the counter down as well. Okay, so due to like the massive stature of these stairs, you know that like if you do like your full move, you will just about make it to the female ogre. But there is literally like no way they're not going to spot you because you're going to have to like go up the stairs, which is where they both are.
Okay. So this is the like slow motion where the guard ogre is just about to
Yeah, he's up.
look into our direction. What's the floor like? Is it earth, dirt?
The floor is stone. It must have once been flagstones, but it's suffered from neglect and it's now uneven and cracked. There's bits of moss growing through it.
Fuck. Well, I will. If there's moss, I'll try and get as much of that as I can, and as the ogre turns around, like toss it in the face, trying to get it in the eyes. Is the idea?
Okay, so make me a dex roll because obviously it's a sort of improvised missile attack.
Yeah, it would be nice if I had that, wouldn't it? Okay, guys, I'm gonna start, and we better keep this going. Praise Gale! No.
Okay,
Run
so
for me.
so Jackdaw goes, right, I'm going to get this started. He like grabs a load of this moss that's like near the stone you're on. He like springs up, obviously like going like this, ready to throw it in the ogre's face. He's like, we've got to get going, guys. Praise Gale. And then his foot catches on the lip of the stone, and he pretty much goes like,
Magnificently unimpressive.
I think if we roll over 10, if I roll over 10, I'm gonna count it as a win.
Yeah.
Live or die.
Yeah.
okay, so we're on to the next round. As Jackdaw's like, praise Gale, and like falls in his face, the ogre's like turned around and he's like lifting his big club up, and he's getting ready to like leap towards, in such slow motion, getting ready to like leap towards Jackdaw. But we're going on like the normal turn order now, so Fry Dunstan.
I want to jump down off the stone.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I think I want to cast my sound burst on the two of them again. But I also want to make it very, very obvious that I'm casting a spell to also draw his attention away from anyone else in the party.
Okay, no problems. Roll for your cast. Obviously, it's easy because you failed previously. Okay.
Gale has continued to desert me.
Indeed, Gale appears to have forsaken you in your hour of
Yes,
need.
yes, he has.
Or rather, perhaps he's busy holding back your impending demises in the nether realms.
Doesn't feel like it though.
However, even though you failed to cast a spell, you have been very obvious about the fact you were trying to cast a spell. So you have succeeded in grabbing the ogre's attention, because just he was like about ready to leap to Jackdaw, you're like leaping up and giving it all the like praise Gale, and he's like turned round to face you, so his attention's no longer on Jackdaw. Tal, you're finally free of these accursed ropes. You can flex once more. What do? You sort of like crack your joints and you're like
Put on my feet on the stone platform.
Yeah.
And hopefully he's within leaping distance, because I'm going to do a flying headbutt.
Love it. Go for it. Make a strength roll.
This is on the male ogre, by the way.
Yeah.
Just in case there was any confusion. Oh.
Unfortunately not. So you leap through the air. As you do that, you sort of like, actually you do your headbutt, but it lands on like his shoulder blade, and it catches you quite heavily on the side of the face, and you sort of like roll off him. Because you're obviously used to brawling, you manage to like land on your feet sort of in a crouch, so you're not incapacitated or anything like that, but you've not done him any damage. Odgit lurking behind the sacrificial stone. What do you do?
I am. I'm just gonna bust out with the acid spray. I feel.
Okay, you aiming at the male ogre, or
can I get both of them in my arc? Or
you
no?
wouldn't be able to get both of them in your arc, no.
No, I'll go for the old man then.
Okay.
He's pissed me
So
off.
you run round the side of the stone, sort of like moving your fingers to like conjure this acid splash.
Yeah, oi, fat boy. Let's have ya.
He's like,
Hey, get in!
boom, roll your d4 to see what the power level is.
Oh,
So you lose a hit point.
it's probably for the best.
Roll your damage.
So it's magic.
Okay. So your acid splashes onto the ogre, and he howls loudly. You see like some like small like surface bits of skin sort of bubble and slough off. Okay, Jackdaw.
That was a bit of an anticlimax.
It's the only damage that's been done to any of them so far, so don't knock it, I'd get.
So, John, what's going on at the minute? I'm laying at the stairs with my moss.
Yeah, you're pretty much. I mean, you're not incapacitated, so it's not going to cost you to get back to your feet. Luckily, you landed on a very springy handful of moss. So you're pretty much like lying face down on the bottom step on a load of moss. You've just seen like Odgit run out and be like, "Oi, fat boy!"
And the ogre is up at the top of the stairs.
The female ogre is up at the top of the stairs, still doing a sort of like evil
And,
prayers.
The other one is down here.
Yeah, the male ogre is at the bottom of the stairs. He's just sort of like reeling back a bit, like as this acid splashed him.
So
he was
I'm
paying
gonna-
attention to the friar who leapt up and been like, "Praise Gale!" But now obviously he's looking at Odgit 'cause he's just flung acid in his face.
Okay, good. And our stuff is up there.
Yeah, your stuff is sort of like in this big pile here.
Okay, yeah. So I will dash there with the object of trying to snatch my book.
Okay, that's not a problem. You dash up to the top of the stairs. Now I'm going to ask you to make me. You can use either strength or dex for this, and you are going to get your book. But this is just to see whether you grab it before the female ogre is going to lash out at you with a knife. Because obviously, if she hears you like up the stairs, she's going to turn around and swipe out with a blade. But it's just a case of whether you get the book before or whether you grab it as she's stabbing you.
No, well, here it goes. Praise Gale. No.
Okay, so you have got the book. However,
You didn't anticipate that you would actually succeed in that role, did you,
No.
Johannes? No, obviously.
What, 23 damage?
no, that's just a hit, mate.
I am atomized.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, this is like 3D.
It's 16,
Yeah,
16 damage.
I am still atomized.
Okay,
So
so
John-
the rest of you guys see Jackdaw like sprint up the thing. He dives, and you see him grab hold of his sort of like corrupt arcane tome, and as his hands lock onto it, you see a fanged glimmer of triumph, and the eyes of the ogress light up. As basically one of the sacrifices like runs up to the altar and is like, "Here I am." Then she plunges the wicked curved dagger into the back of Jackdaw and wrenches it out. You see a spray of blood fountain into the air, some of it splattering on this skull, and a sort of dull tremor and rumble seems to run through the floor and the walls of this cavern.
So what's the crack? If Odgit got hold of that book, would I be able to do that blood magic or no?
No. Every wizard's book is effectively written in their own sort of like cipher. So with a bit of time to study it, you probably could, but you wouldn't just be able to grab it and be like, "Oh, it's Blood Magic 101."
All right.
So, John, is there? And I don't remember about the dying, but is there? Like, oh yeah, you get the final twitch. Do your like outro thing.
You get.
Do you know what?
There's a roll, isn't there?
Normally, no.
Okay.
However, but because we're on the final session, we're sort of playing a bit fast and loose. We're going for like the dramatic ending. I'm going to say, if at any point anyone dies in this, like you say, you effectively get to do like your death move or your last sort of move.
Right, so I would like to, presumably, because she really liked the fact that now there's blood on
Yeah,
the table.
she's loving
and,
it.
Yeah, so she's going on with her business, presumably, because I'm fucking done. So I'm there with my book, and all like the red is coming out.
Yeah.
So unless she is taking me somewhere, and even if she is, I'm going to do a thing here, which is completely improvised, John, but that's the way we roll here.
That's
'cause
fine. I'm good.
I'm in my pants trying to fight two ogres, so that's where we are. So with the massive amount of blood leaking out, I will clutch my tome. Probably a lot of the blood gets like spilled and bled on it as well, but I will smack a hand on the wound, get it all drippy, and then understanding the basics of a lot of the advanced blood magics, which I didn't have time to research, but I know the language of it. I don't have the capability to make the math work, but I know the numbers of it. So I will, being aware of this creature being apparently summoned here, I'm going to draw as best as I can with my fading eyes on my chest a bunch of the symbols for possession, because that's something I could do if I was more advanced in the blood magics. So
what is it you're
basically
trying to accomplish with this?
Yeah, my intent is I'm going to draw out the formula for this is a vessel for possession. Spirit, like, enter here.
Okay.
And trying to prepare myself as a sort of, like, I don't know what she's trying to do, but my intent is I'm going to try and fuck with that by making this, trying to entice the spirit to take a corpse instead of whatever it is trying to do. Maybe it's trying to manifest, but maybe it wants to manifest in a corpse. I don't know. Maybe that will be easier. I do not know, but I'm just trying to fuck with her ritual, trying to divert the spirit.
Okay, no problem. So what the rest of you see is, as this dagger is drawn out of Jack and blood sprays everywhere, with his last dying gasp, he clutches this book, sort of basically sticks a hand into like his own wound, and then draws all of these strange sigils across himself. Odgit, because you and Jackdaw did like a little bit of research on the previous demon and the fact it had possessed the noble, you're pretty sure he's basically drawing sigils that will like draw an entity into his body. And as you all see that, as the last light fades out of Jackdaw's eyes, his body begins to convulse. The flesh begins to sort of bubble, all across his body, as though something's like trying to burst out from within. There's a sickening like sound, and you see what slowly appear to be like 2 large antlers like bursting out of the top of his head.
Yes.
Okay, so we go on to the monsters. As this possession is occurring to Jackdaw, the female ogre sort of like falls to her knees and is sort of holding her arms like that, and she continues chanting, now facing Jackdaw rather than the altar. The male ogre, however, is going to try and lay the smack down on you guys. So, with his 2 attacks, the first one's going to be at Oddgit. Hits. You take 6 hit points of damage, Oddgit.
That is good night, Vienna.
Okay, so the ogre goes and sort of smashes Oddgit down. However, rather like Jackdaw, Oddgit, because we're in the final session, do you have any sort of last sort of finishing move you want to do as like the darkness starts to claim you? Well, I'll tell you what, I could do with having a Jimmy Riddle, so you ever think about it?
Yeah, I could too.
Okay.
This is going well, isn't it, Friar?
So I was thinking, being a wild kind of magical guy, sensing the impending doom, I feel like I'm sucking in all the magical energy. And when your man hits me, I kind of just like, I'm like a backdraft. Boosh.
Yeah, why not? Roll your magical damage.
Yeah. Boosh. 11.
Okay. So as the ogre strikes down with his club and it hits Oddgit just as he was preparing to cast one of his crazy sort of random spells, probably an acid splash, knowing him.
Yes.
The magic that he was sort of containing with his gestures just like goes crazy and out of control, and Oddgit's entire body just like explodes in a shower of acid that covers the ogre. He howls and staggers back, forfeiting his second attack. As he sort of staggers back up the stairs, like, trying to get this acid off him, like bits of his skin are melting off. Friar Dunstan.
So the Sword of Gale, I can tell that it's no longer really the sword of Gale, can I?
If effectively it's not, no, but you can tell
Okay.
that.
Sorry, I can or can't. Okay, so seeing what has happened to Jackdaw, I am devastated. So I think that I will try and run, casting my sound burst at the female ogre and whatever it is that's taking over Jackdaw. So let me try that. No, but I want to, after that, run right up to her and start ineffectively punching her in the back of the head.
Yeah, not a problem. You run up, you try and call on the power of Gale, but as you do so, you're filled with the certainty that the only reason you guys hadn't perished already is the fact that Gale is using all of his power to hold back your deaths. Not permanently, but just for a short while. And since his attention is diverted by that, you're finding it much more difficult. And you run up and you start like punching the ogress, who sort of like staggers a little bit, but obviously doesn't really take any damage from it.
Yeah.
Big toe.
Well,
As you're sort of looking upstairs, you can see like Friar Dunstan like giving it some of that. You can see the body of Jackdaw is sort of like roiling and slowly taking on this form, like his face is turning into a skull-like visage with these bone antlers coming out of it, and sort of bits of fur have started to sprout as like his skin's sloughing off, as whatever entity has taken possession of his body has started to like reform it to its own liking. You know you've probably got maybe a couple of rounds before whatever it is starts making its presence felt.
Papa Ogre is a bit preoccupied with acid.
Yeah, he's
so
like...
Perhaps he's released or loosened his grip on his big club. So I shall try and snatch the big club and smack him over the head with it.
Okay, make a strength roll. I'm going to say this is an easy roll because obviously he's covered in acid and he's like... So it's only difficulty 12. Okay, you try and grab his club, however you run up just as he's sort of going like that, sort of shaking some of the acid off, and he catches you with the back of his hand. Doesn't really do you any damage, but it sort of like throws you to one side for a short while.
Fucking hell! Shout.
Okay.
You bastards! Just stand still, let me hit you.
Okay, so onto the monsters. The male ogre is going to try and attack you, Tal.
All right there, pal. I'll help you. Oh. Yep.
You take 3 hit points of damage. As he sort of like, he runs, you can see like, because his face is covered in the acid, he's not quite sure of his blows. He's just sort of like lashing out, probably in the vague direction of your voice, basically. And he manages to catch you a glancing blow that sort of catches you upside the jaw.
Yeah, that's it. Is that the best you can do?
It's like, and so like, but almost you can see like one of its eyes appears to have melted, so it's half blind, and it's just like lunging towards your voice of scrambling at you. Okay, Friar Dunstan. You can see as you look at the creature that's slowly taking over Jackdaw's body, you think that whatever he did with his sigils has delayed it, but not a very great deal. You reckon you've got moments before it sort of like acclimatizes itself to its surroundings and like rises to its full potency as it's like thrashing around on the floor, reforming Jackdaw's body. He's bought you some time, but not much.
Okay, but I believe that it manifests itself within his body.
Yeah, it's basically reforming his body at the minute into a suitable vessel. You think sort of after this round's done, it's going to have sort of got used to where it is, and then it's going to be like...
Okay. So what I would like to do, is there any weapons, any of the weapons nearby that I can reach?
Yeah, there's some like normal melee weapons lying around, like detritus from other sacrifices.
So I guess what I really want to try and do is grab one of those swords. The body is on the ground, is it?
Yeah. It's lying on the stairs.
Okay, so I guess what I really want to do is grab a sword effectively in my two hands and jump down and kind of sit on his chest and then put the sword down on his throat and then effectively try and cut his head off.
Okay, that's fine. You're not going to have to make a roll to do that because he's effectively prone. So it basically comes down to can you do enough damage? So roll your damage.
Okay. Okay. Weapon damage is D6, is it?
Yeah.
6.
Yep, you plunge the sword down the head of this creature that was reforming jackdaws. One of this skull-like face with the antlers rolls free, and a disembodied scream echoes throughout the chamber. Immediately you feel the oppressive sense of evil that was surrounding you dissipate. The ogress howls in hatred, and the two ogres begin converging on the two of you. You know there's a little chance of escaping from here, but you've triumphed and prevented this old god from rising. As the ogres close in on you, Friar Dunstan, what is your finishing move?
So, do you remember when Aldred Mallowburn, when we met him and he was covered in flames?
Yeah.
Because he had carried the sword of Gale. So what I would like to do is call on Gale to manifest those flames in real life, and then I want to dive on this ogre and hold on for dear life and try and do as much damage as I can with those flames before I pass.
Okay, you call on Gale and you see in your mind's eye this golden shining figure nods slightly, sadly, and then this reaper-like figure rushes past it as Gale no longer bars its path. But you feel the power of the golden angel flow into you. Flames burst around your skin. You can feel your skin melting, and it doesn't feel painful as this holy fire consumes you, but it is consuming you. You see the friar throw himself onto the female ogre. The flames lick around her and begin to consume the both of them like some gigantic candle. The male ogre is walking towards you. His eyes are now clear. Well, his one good eye is clear. He's lifting his club up. You know this is the end, Tal. What do you do? What is your finishing move?
My back's against the black altar now, and I'm reaching out, trying to find a weapon, and I do grab a hold of the rope. So quick as a flash, I fall into a quick noose, and I'm just going to try and loop it over the thing's head, and push myself back over to the side of the stone altar and try and strangle it.
Yeah, you loop the noose over it, and you leap over the stone, pulling down with all your weight. The ogre, already unbalanced because of its lack of depth perception and the pain it's in as the acid's burning through its skull, stumbles on the stairs, falls over, and actually goes over the stone and lands on top of you, Tal. And as you're sort of lying there, crushed by this ogre, unable to breathe, your last sort of visage of life draining out of you, the sort of flickering glow of Friar Dunstan as he and the ogress are consumed, you're rewarded with the satisfaction of hearing the ogre's neck snap. And then, with a slightly satisfied sigh, darkness rushes in to claim you. And as we fade out on this scene, and indeed the campaign, we see 4 figures accompanied by a glowing golden-winged angel walking into the distance as a light mist rises around them. You see Friar Dunstan sort of looks up at the golden figure and says, "So what happens now?" The angel Gale smiles sadly, looking at you all, and then nods his head approvingly and says, "Now you get to find out what happens next." And as he says that, you all walk into the mist. It rises up around you, and we draw a close to that scene and to our story. thank you very much for playing, gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed that finale of our campaign.
Yay!
Yeah.
So, although you sold your lives valiantly, you prevented these ogres from summoning an ancient pagan demon into the world. And as your reward, you are shepherded into the afterlife by Gale himself.
I was kind of hedging my bets there because, like, if we didn't manage to stop this, hey, like I could be the taxi driver for a pagan god. Like,
Indeed. And obviously, because we've wrapped up quite early, guys, I'm more than happy to chat for a bit, but I'm going to end the stream now. So thank you to my wonderful players. I hope if you're watching this, you've enjoyed this campaign, and hopefully we'll be back shortly with something else. So until we see you again, take care.
So long.
Yeah.